top three parties, Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP, whoever each candidate is, you know they're there. Maybe there's two Liberals, maybe there's three. But they're out of sight of all us common folks, there's no fourth. So you're leaving out thousands of people and I've been running since I'm watching the clock tick there, eh? 89 for mayor. Haven't seen anything change. Same old, same old, same old. It isn't going to change if you just change the suits. You have to go for leather. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I just wanted to say I love that there are people stopping to watch up here. So if any of you are interested in this, you can come down, get a closer look, find out who to vote for. Next we have Ijaz Butt.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address you all here today and sharing my views. I immigrated in 1987, and this great city has become my permanent home. I have held various community leadership positions, such as being the president and the founding member of the Ontario Taxi Worker Union, which is the first ever taxi union in Hamilton. I believe I can use my experiences and strong leadership abilities to become your mayor. My 4 top priorities are the job growth by giving property tax exemption for 2 years, which is extendable to 4 years. Second, no new taxes for the Hamilton residents and exemption of property taxes for the seniors. Third is the balancing the budget, freezing the wages. And the 4 more, which is very important for the downtown area, removing the bus lane from the downtown area, which has made difficult.
You're at a minute, Ijaz.
Okay, thank you very much.
I'm going to be ruthless here with the mic, sorry. And we have Brad Clark.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank everyone for coming out today. I understand the HiveX conference was an excellent process today, and everyone seemed very pleased when they came away from it, so thank you for participating in that. And thanks to HiveX for actually running all of this, and your executive members who are volunteering. They've done an awesome job, so thank you. The rest of my comments I'm going to leave to questions, so the more questions we get, the more answers we get. Thank you.
And next we have Fred Eisenberger.
Thank you, Samantha, and good for me to be here as well, and participating in what we should really start thinking about, which is the next Hamilton. That's the city we want to build for now and into the future, so it's prosperous not only now, but 15, 25, and even 100 years from now. So we need enhanced public transportation. We need more jobs in our community, more economic development and opportunities for graduates and folks that want to start new businesses. So we need to grow our labor market to ensure that people have jobs that they can raise a family on. We need to knock down poverty, invest in our infrastructure, and work on our quality of life, because that is the big attractor in terms of why people want to come and live here in Hamilton. So I look forward to your questions. There is much to do going forward. I have the experience you can count on and leadership you can trust. Vote for me on October the 27th.
And we have Warren Francis.
Hello, folks. I prefer to stand. My name is Warren Francis. I'm here from, I'm a British Canadian by way of USA, and I've been destined to be here in Hamilton because I refuse to let one generation tear down what it took 10 to build. I will rebuild this city. I have the knowledge, I have the power, I have the passion. I have an engineering degree in electrical engineering, and I propose a 2-lane monorail system on Main Street and Barton Street to take people to Stony Creek in 10 minutes. It would be a world theme attraction park. We have the best bayfront, longest perimeter bayfront in the world. We have the greatest country in the world, the greatest democracy in the world. I will go in the city hall and I will get those people out who've been destroying the city by laziness, wickedness and greediness, because they have planted where they have not sown and they have gathered where they have not planted. So I bring a brand new start at Hamilton. I'm your strong, dynamic mayor. I'm a controversial mayor because I'm going to do controversial things for this city, this great city and great people. We'll shine again.
Thank you, Warren. Next up, we have Crystal Levine.
Thanks for having me here today, everybody. Born and raised in Hamilton, I've lived through many wards in Hamilton, so I understand a lot of the different geographical areas of Hamilton and how they're run and what's needed and what's not needed. With that being said, I'm 32 years old. which makes me right in the middle of the demographic that we are talking about this afternoon with the HiveX, and thank you for making this and having this for us today. I understand what the youth is going through in Hamilton. I understand the big gap there is with jobs in Hamilton and our youth, and what is considered the lazy generation, because that's what we're considered, and we're not. We are in fact not the lazy generation, and we need to break through this and let the people that are hiring us, which in generally are our elder folk, understand that we're not what we're perceived to be. So thank you very much.
And we have Brian McCaddy.
Thanks, Samantha. We're now only days away, in fact 8 days away, from when Hamiltonians will make their choice for a new mayor. No question, it's a big decision. A personal decision that will affect the future of this city for years to come. This campaign is about many things. Some would have you believe the time isn't right to have big ambitions, that ambitious is for later. If, like me, you believe Hamilton needs to take its rightful place on the national stage, along with the other great cities in Canada, I ask for your vote. We must believe in ourselves if we want outside investors, entrepreneurs, and new residents to believe in us. I believe in Hamilton. I believe in the entrepreneurial spirit I saw every single day of my 100-day neighborhood tour. As your mayor, I will make it my mission to ensure Hamilton becomes the city so many people have told me they want it to be. Join me in working hard to make Hamilton a great city.
And next we have Michael Pattison, and anytime Michael Pattison talks, I'm going to stand. Otherwise, he's going to be sitting behind me, and I want everybody to have a good look at him. So.
First, I want to say thank you to you all for coming out. It's one of the number one reasons why I am running for this position. People had lost faith in basically the governmental systems of today. You looked at our last voter turnout for municipalities, it was for Hamilton, 40.45% of Hamilton voted. That's atrocious, it's completely wrong. I'm trying to add passion back to this. What makes me different than most that are sitting here today, I come from an entrepreneurial spirit, not from a political one. I know that our economics is what we're actually trying to push forth to make this the greatest city possible. We're at a crossroads. We need to do almost a 180 shift. We need to be an environmental leader. We need to take things like literally by the throat, and it's our time to do so. So I thank you once again, and I can't wait to get to your questions.
So that's what everybody's all about. For the first 8 questions, we're going to go in alphabetical order. So we'll start with Mr. Baldessaro down there. And our first question is, how does your platform utilize a systems approach to improve the economic, social, and environmental sustainability of Hamilton?
Well, first I'll take a third off my salary. With that money, one of the runner-ups will be the head of the Oversight Committee. We used to have one, and its job is to oversee City Hall, to foster and strengthen community groups, and report back to City Hall so that we can actually have some issues happening and see what's going on. And also give everybody who votes a citizen ID card. Just tap it at the bus when you get on a bus and you'll get a discount. It's time we started to get something back from our representatives in our city instead of always into our pockets and paying them, and they're driving. Our mayor used to have a limousine and a chauffeur till I spoke up in an election and Bob Morrow got rid of his chauffeur. Thank you, guys.
So what's the preference of the candidates? Do you want me to repeat the question every time, or do you? Okay. So the question is to Mr. Butt, how does your platform utilize a systems approach to improve the economic, social, and environmental sustainability of Hamilton?
My 23 points, if you have received this thing, there is a 23 points plan addresses the economic, social, and environmental needs of the Hamilton in several ways. For economic sustainability, my plan calls for job growth by giving property tax exemption for 2 years, which can be extended to 4 years to new manufacturing businesses that create at least 20 jobs or more in Hamilton. My social program focuses on exemption of property taxes for low-income seniors, for obtaining greater social and financial support for the single parents. For the environment, my focus is on decreasing construction on the greenland and promoting solar and windmill energy by attracting environmentally focused businesses using the tax exemption I mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Brad Clark, do you need the question repeated? Okay.
Thank you, Samantha, and that's an excellent question. What we need to do is ensure that we actually provide, thank you very much, that's probably my son. Thank you very much. What we need to do is ensure that we're doing things in a balanced way. We can't put one area of the community outside of another area of the community. We need to ensure that we have growth across the entire community in the entire city. We need to ensure that we're actually looking at the economic sustainability of the decisions at the council. We have some real challenges at the council. We have a significant infrastructure deficit. We have a significant debt. So we need to make sure that the decisions that the council is making is not burdening the city in the future and we don't have the revenue to pay for it. That's a part of the economic sustainability. In terms of the environmental sustainability, we really need to do that with the community. So we need to speak with folks like yourselves. We need to speak with the folks who are actually running the companies and make sure that our employees are consulted so that we can actually bring in the changes that actually provide that environmental sustainability system-wide.
Okay. Thank you. And I just want to remind everybody watching up there, we actually have chairs. So it's really it's a comfortable way to, I don't mean to keep calling attention to you or anything. Fred Eisenberger, do you need the question?
I'm
Okay.
good, thank you. And I appreciate the question, and there are multiple factors that actually come into that beyond just environmental, social, and economic. But all of our decisions have to be tempered with making sure that we balance all three to ensure it's the three-legged stool approach that it might be getting a little tired, but it's the same approach that we need to take if we want to be sustainable into the future. We have to consider the economic, social, and environmental impacts of all our decisions, but it doesn't stop there. We also have to include the gender equity issues and the social inclusion issues in our decision making. Critically important, we have a diverse community that needs to be fair and equal to all people in our community. And I think at this point, to include that gender and equity lens and social inclusion lens is critically important for our future decision making because we're becoming more diverse every day, and we need to ensure that that's included in all of our decision making going forward.
So Warren Francis, I'll just repeat the question because we're midway through. How does your platform utilize a systems approach to improve the economic, social, and environmental sustainability of Hamilton?
Well, first of all, it's like a car engine. If it's broken, you got to go to the garage, a mechanic, and remove the bad components in order to fix it. We need to get Hamilton back to a proper reference point in time where it functioned correctly around innovation, industrialism. It's my plan to reinvigorate the steel industry by making Canada a world leader, building our monorail, our dual high-speed monorail. I think also for sustainability, for people should be given more access to growing their own food and instead of relying on supermarket chains, which sometimes can be unreliable in times of crisis. I am very good on the crisis. I intend to get rid of the invalid city of Hamilton, the moniker that we've been given by restoring pride back to the city by manufacturing, and manufacturing only, because you cannot turn a hammer into a toffee apple. We got to stop thinking of something that we're not. We're steel workers. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Crystal Levine, do you need the question or we're good?
Thank you.
Okay.
In order to improve upon the economic sustainability in Hamilton, we need to foster an environment where our youth are driven to stay in Hamilton. Without our youth, we become a city where job growth cannot happen. We need to bring forth and welcome jobs of the future. Many cities throughout the world, including Canada, are embracing what is known as flexible jobs. I believe Hamilton is going to survive economically in the future. This is a route we need to start commissioning, and now. Social sustainability in Hamilton is more of a broader topic, as the social umbrella encompasses many diverse areas. areas. For the sake of this question, I'm going to briefly focus on our food banks in Hamilton. I would propose to abolish food banks as we know them because they do little except take away the dignity of the users. Food banks are not a bad concept, but we can do better. We can take away the stigma associated with having the need to use a food bank. We can do this simply by handing out grocery cards to those in need so they are welcome to do their own shopping. This no longer ostracizes the one in need because nobody in the grocery lineup is the wiser as to where one received the card. And am I out of time? Sorry. Thank you.
You prevented me from having to do that. Brian McCaddy.
Yay, Brian McCaddy. Thank you. Well, thanks very much for this question. Systems thinking is an exciting concept. And I had the great opportunity, I was very lucky to attend the University of Waterloo in the Environmental Studies Department in the early 1990s. And that was about the time when we were all starting to struggle with this idea of sustainable development. How do we blend economic ideas, social ideas, and environmental ideas all in one? And we had the opportunity to think about those ideas. And of course, here in Hamilton, we had the Task Force on Sustainable Development in 1990. We wrote Vision 2020, which was the first sustainability document across North America. I had an opportunity to sit on the original task force back in those days. So really, the other opportunity I had was the Hamilton Harbor Remedial Action Plan, which the basis of that and the basis for all the Great Lakes work was ecosystem approach and the idea that everything is connected to everything else. So those are the ideas that are systems thinking. Systems thinking is complex, but it's exactly the kind of thinking we need to have in Hamilton to deal with the complex issues we have.
Thank you, Brian. Next up, we have Michael Pattison. Do you need the question, or?
Nope, I'm all good. Okay, so when you get into systematics, it first starts with me, environmental policy. So when we're dealing with building permits, so anybody that is deemed to come into Hamilton to start new business, I would like to actually have our building permits set at a certain level, and they actually get reduced as people actually buy into the LEEDS type programming. So we can actually have more efficient buildings built in our city, more efficient businesses that we try to promote. Case managers should be number one at City Hall. They should be for every entrepreneur, anybody that's dealing with our city. They should be walking in. Basically, they should have someone walk through every department. There should be no he said, she said. This should be direct. The case manager would be the case in point for every single person, and it should also come with dedicated timelines when everything would be finished. So that way we cut a lot of red tape. We need to assess, literally, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, monies and monetary values that we are paying everyone at City Hall. We're the 9th largest city in Canada, and I would like to make sure that we are sitting within that bracket. Next biggest thing after that, community hubs should be started in every ward. This should be to start the active civic engagement.
Thank you, Michael. That's your minute. I like this next question. A lot of these, I think, came from Hive members, and Council was debating, if I remember correctly, it was about $200,000 on a highway sign. And one of the questions is, will you make getting a Hamilton highway sign a priority? Not the Tim Hortons field one, but the one that was debated to put up for the Pan Am Games, I believe. Michael?
Yes, it's a priority, and it should, of course, be a video sign, and we can sell advertising on it to pay for it. And it's should advertise that Hamilton is Ancaster, Glanbrook, Dunbrass, Mount Hope, Flamborough, so people really know where they are as they go by, and maybe some helmets or logos of some of our sports team, and they can pay for that. You look around you, you'll see a lot of empty stores down here. City Hall was here, when I was a kid, this was City Hall. When they moved City Hall here, and I ran for mayor the last election, I said, leave it here. Bob Bertina was even in favor of leaving it here. We got a City Hall over there with a country-style donuts. Hip, hip, parade. This place would just be buzzing. We should have stayed here and sold the other elephant, I don't know, to McMaster. They have the money. I know this lady doesn't like it. How are you, my love?
Okay.
These guys were in charge. They allowed that to happen. Look at it now. It's a wasteland.
Thank you, Michael. Ijaz Bet. I'll just repeat the question again. Would you make getting a Hamilton highway sign, a nice fancy one, a priority?
While I support having an attractive Hamilton highway sign welcoming folks to our beautiful city, especially as the Pan Am Games approaches, it should not be as excessive cost According to Hamilton Spectator report from July 07 to 14, the Hamilton Highway sign could cost up to $230,000 or more, and this is unacceptable. We need to come up with a more cost-friendly way of having a nice sign, but not at a high financial cost. Thank you.
Thank you, Ijaz. And Brad Clark.
Thank you very much. No, it was not a priority of the council, and I agreed with the council. We looked at actually having 5 or 6 of those entranceway type signs into the city. When you actually pay attention to the fact that people don't have any challenge in finding Hamilton, people are finding Hamilton all the time. It's really not a priority for the city to spend $1 million, $1.5 million on fancy signs on the highway that people just drive by. With GPS and everything else that's going on, there's no challenge for people finding Hamilton. They're doing it every day. So it's not a priority for me, and it wasn't a priority for the council.
Fred Eisenberger.
Thank you. So it's not a high priority, but it's certainly something that we should do. And I think we can find creative ways of finding sponsors. We're a steel maker here in the city. We have lots of manufacturers here in the city. And we have a lot of people that care about our city that want to do something dramatic for the Pan Am Games. And I think when you put all of that together, I'm sure we can find the money and the resources beyond tax dollars, get sponsors and get them, encourage them, and encourage the manufacturers to kick in some time. And together, I'm sure we can create something dramatic that says that Hamilton is actually special. And I think that's important to do. I think it's like sometimes you need to put on a new suit if you're going to a job application. It makes you feel better as a person. This can also make our community feel better collectively, but we don't have to do it on the taxpayer's dime. We can get volunteers and sponsors to do that.
Well, folks, I won't waste much of the valuable time we have here. I basically concur with Fred, Brad, and Ijaz on the issue. We can find money from individual sponsors, and people can do an individual contribution. If it was $1 each for the population, we'd pay for it. Maybe the city can kick in a little bit. I'm all for just doing anything that makes Hamilton great. That's all I want, is a great city. Thank you.
Don't worry about the timer. Don't worry about it. Simply put, no, I don't support it.
So I think we were all surprised on council that it came in at such a high cost, and I think that's an example of the kind of projects that sometimes get away on us, and we need to take those kind of projects to the community and look for more low-cost solutions, support from various organizations in town who could help us build such a sign. I agree with the other comments that it's not a huge priority. If we're looking at raising the image of our city, I'd like to look at the issue of the view from the Skyway. And as people go over our city in hundreds of thousands from Toronto to Niagara Falls, how do we change that image? And I'd appreciate your creative ideas, and I suspect you've been talking about that today. Thanks.
I'm the same. No, I do not believe that we should be spending the money on the sign. I would say that one of my roles here today was to try and unify all 15 wards. I do find our city is very divided when you're dealing with the urban, suburban, and rural. If there's anything I would like to see out of each community, their own sign that represents what that community stands for within the greater city of Hamilton. I think this is the greatest part about us is our individuality. And that's something that Hamilton needs to foster and promote even greater than it does now. And then, who knows, when we're all united, then maybe we think about the sign.
So my next question, what would you do to create an overall vision for the city? How would you contribute to real, committed, long-term vision for council to follow when making decisions?
Like I told you, I'm committed to a third off my salary. At that point, I'll ask all councillors to take 15% off theirs so that the runner-up in each ward staffs the oversight committee. That doesn't cost us anything. We can stop handing out large money to consultants. Council is too busy running the city at meetings to be out there communicating with you. So you're standing there with nobody to talk to and nobody to bring it back to them. And consultants charge a heck of a lot more. This is free. I'm giving you a third of my check. And I think that some of these councillors would do it. And the ones that don't, next time around, you don't want it. You don't want them representing you. Pardon me?
No. All right.
I like Brad. I like all these guys. Well, you could be running. We could use more ladies up here, my dear.
Jazz butt.
Well, the city of Hamilton already has a Vision 2020 in place, which focuses on making Hamilton a sustainable community through the principle of equity, self-determination, ecological integrity, and fulfillment of basic human needs. These principles cover specific economic, social, and environmental goals. I would not want to necessarily reinvent the wheel by creating a new vision for the city, as I feel the Vision 2020 is well thought out. Rather, I would focus on specific indicators to see how we can achieve the goals set out in the Vision 2020. In 2008, for example, there was an indicator report evaluating several areas of the vision, such as job growth, crime rate, air quality, etc. As we approach 2015,
Thank you,
I would
Jess.
reevaluate these indicators to ensure that we meet the target
That's good.
set up for
Thank you. Brad Clark, long-term vision of the city for council to follow.
Thank you very much. It can't come from the mayor's office. We need to continue with what we've done in the past, which is a strategic planning and visioning exercise. One of the things that we missed in the last strategic planning and visioning exercise was actually the connection with the community. There wasn't an opportunity for the public to participate in the strategic planning. It was done by the council through a consultant, and then it was done with our senior staff. So we actually need to reach out to the community and make sure that we're touching base with the community so that our vision as councillors, visions as a senior management team, actually matches the vision of the community, that we're here to serve them. That's one of the failures that we had in the past, and that's how you would actually get a strategic plan that everybody in the community buys into. And that's really important when we're trying to unite a city as large as Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. And you know what, the vision for a city, I mean, I have my vision, but I think we need a new collective vision for the city. I mean, we have waterfront issues to work on. We have enhanced public transportation. I support LRT. We need to get back to that and get the community on board. And we have neighborhoods to strengthen and nurture in our community that are struggling, that we need to lift up, and we have poverty issues to deal with. But Vision 2020, I was part of at the outset. It's almost 20 years old. It's time to redo a broader vision exercise with the entire community, not unlike what we did in 1995 or earlier, and bring all the communities together and really develop a vision that is a community vision, that is not a council vision, but a community vision that can guide us for the next 20 or 25 years. I'm committed to doing that, and I'll make sure that that's part of my agenda coming forward, and we bring in the entire part of our community from all parts and really start to redo the whole visioning exercise so we have a collective direction that we can all buy into.
Thank you, Fred. I just want to note, I think Fred is the first person to say the word LRT.
It's me again, folks. The vision for this city, like I said, it's got great geography and topology. We have laser companies here. We can have a laser system that will go off the escarpment, around the escarpment, off the Skyway Bridge, that'll bring people from Toronto, even the United States, will flocking here. With the monorail that we'll design and build at Master University, the steel industry, National Steel Car, we're going to build a state-of-the-art monorail system that the world will envy and buy from us to implement in their countries. And we can have the jobs for life. We just keep building this system. We have the talent here. We have the pioneering spirit here. It's time to fan those embers and flames and come alive again as a city. We can get something behind something, a great dream, so our kids have something to be proud of. Then crime will go down. Then poverty will go down. We'll have jobs for life. I promise I can deliver. I have the engineering experience. I was a ride engineer at Disney and Universal Studios. I've worked for the US Air Force on massive projects. I can build this city and give you a great vision. I promise.
Thank you. I'm just going to repeat the question because we're midway through. What will you do to create an overall vision for the city? How would you contribute to real committed long-term vision for council to follow when it makes decisions?
Thank you. By not having any current excess baggage at City Hall, I can bring brand new, fresh leadership and ideas to the table. I can offer new energy that cannot be found by rehiring current members of our stagnant council at City Hall. I believe the only way council should be making decisions is through the people of their respective wards. Councillors should not be pandering to just the activists that are always on their back, but they should be getting out in the wards and speaking, polling, talking to whatever it takes in person as much as possible to get a consensus on the issues at hand. Whether these issues be strictly ward-related or citywide is not relevant. Spending even 1 hour a day outside various locations in their wards would help them keep an ear low to the ground and more in tune with the populace and their needs and wants. After all, it's not the desire of the councillor that matters, it's of the people. In essence, the employer of council and mayor for that fact. Thank you.
We're just actually planning right now to redo Vision 2020. It's been around since 1990, so we've had a chance to look at those kind of goals, and I think the perspective we need to take now is Vision 2050. And probably the way to start doing that is to work right through the community to use this idea of backcasting, to sort of set it in place verbally what our future looks like in 2050, and then to work backwards on how we get there. It's important that we understand very clearly what it looks like. We need to look at in investing the funds that we have as a city to reach that vision. We have to look into the future, a time when we're close to 700,000 people in terms of population, which is around 2033. So LRT is absolutely imperative at that point with that many more people. We need to look at climate change issues, which are again long-term. And we need to also look at the situation in 1990. No Hamilton Hive, no culture perspective.
Thank you.
We've got that today.
Wasn't me.
I'm just going to say one word, and I want you to understand it. Standards. We want a vision for the future. We require everyone in our city to understand the standards that we want our city to be. When I talk about wanting to give more power back to the wards, the fact of it is because we are so different between our urban, suburban, and rural boundaries, we need standards. We need standards on economy. We need standards on environmental policy. We need standards on basically everything that focuses within our city. And if we can live up to those standards, and literally anyone new coming in has to live up to those standards. This is the dream, but it's not a dream, folks. We have to wake up every day willing to work really hard. We have to invest the passion capital that's going to tie every one of us in this room together to actually make it come true. Standards comes first.
Okay. Here's an interesting question. How will you combat term tunnel vision syndrome? Meaning you get elected, you care about the 4 years you're in there, and then you... how will you combat term tunnel vision syndrome? Long-term vision, the question says, is all but dead in politics.
Well, what we should have is term limits. But some people agree and some don't. So what we really need is plebiscites on the ballot. There's nothing on this ballot. These gentlemen have been running this city and they're not one question. They don't care whether we want fluoride. We'd rather give everybody fluoride because the poor can't afford it, rather than giving the poor dental care, and we do have a bus that does that, thank God. But I don't give any credit to them for that. They haven't done anything to this point, or we wouldn't have poverty. We wouldn't have empty stores. We'd have a city hall here just buzzing with like a beehive. Thank you.
I'm just going to repeat the question again, just for anyone listening. How will you combat term tunnel vision syndrome? Long-term vision is all but dead in politics.
I believe voters are very smart in figuring out when politicians are acting for short-term gain rather than meaningful long-term change. My goal in the office will not be to focus on re-election, but acting in good faith in a manner that focuses on long-term growth for the city and its people. Thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. The City Council has done an excellent job in terms of actually looking far into the future. We have a new capital plan that is actually based on the assessment of our roads, our bridges, our streets today, our sewers today. That was a capital asset management plan that took a great deal of time and effort to complete, and so we're able to look forward into the future in terms of how much work has to be done. So instead of a council saying every 4 years, well, this is what we're going to do, we actually have a capital plan moving far into the future, and we're meeting that capital plan. We're also doing it with business plans in all of the departments, and each of the business plan is set up, much like you would in the private sector, it's set up with those same things in mind. So they're not looking for the 4 years, they're looking 8 years and 10 years out. And that's how we have tried to avoid very much that type of tunnel vision the question implies. Thank you.
Thank you, and I don't agree that it's dead everywhere. I think long-term vision is certainly something that I've continued to work on. So, you know what, leadership is really about taking a hard look down the road and anticipating what's coming and then being ready for that. That's what leadership is about. So, you know, we can do the immediate and look at the parochial issues and say, well, we're just going to solve the potholes and the roads. Or we can say our longer term vision is actually more than that. What is our next Hamilton going to look like? And that's what we need to focus on. And so when you look at the idea of redoing Vision 2020, it is really all about setting a date. And I think you know, we should not set it so far in advance as we did before. I think Vision 2020 was a long-range 30-year plan almost that has fizzled out, unfortunately. Isn't really, you know, in life today. I think we ought to look at it in a 10-year increment and say, okay, what are we going to do the next 10 years? So let's bring all the community together. Let's focus on what does our city need to look like 10 years from now? And then start doing things that actually make that happen.
Good.
Like I said before, folks, if things are broken, we have to fix them and replace them. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of waste in City Hall the last 20, 30 years. I can see the decay in the city since I've been here for 6 years. We have a disrespectful action by our city with our memorial for the war dead will not be ready on time. Nothing is ever ready on time in this city. It's always late. It's always overspending. I will fix that. The bad components and the bad people in the City Hall will be removed when I take office. We're going to grow a strong, true, just Hamilton based on truth, justice, and love and fairness. That's the only way we can do it. The 1990 vision that Brad talked about is already out of date. The LRT plans that they said 6-7 years ago are already out of date. We need a brand new start. We need to get a vision of a city that we all love and we have pride in. And we can all grow it together, not just by the high-handedness of some who've been in office for way too long. We need a brand new start. Brand new start.
Good. Okay, we've already heard some candidates talk about term limits. It sounds good, but it is a decision to be made by our provincial government and not on the municipal level. Regardless of that, I firmly believe that we can combat term tunnel vision by bringing new leadership to the mayor's chair. The mayor is supposed to help keep council flowing and continually giving them the drive and the inspiration to not forget why they signed up for the job in the first place. Inspire them to always seek to envision more. Capture their original desires to be in the position they're in and energize them to keep following that vision they each, at least at one point, held, even if the course or that vision has changed. Thank you.
Well, I think this gets back to the earlier question about taking our Vision 2020, making it a Vision 2050. I mean, that's only 35 years from now. And if you look at the best practices from other municipalities across Canada, they've got 80-year plans, 100-year plans. You think of some of the infrastructure decisions that we make to invest in an LRT, to invest in roads, to invest in various recreation centers and other things, McMaster University coming downtown. Those are 50, 60, 70-year investments. So the key to that is to lead back to our budgeting process, link Vision 2050, we'll call it that, with a multi-year budgeting process as well. So we're not just looking at each year in isolation, but we're able to look at many years into the future with our budgeting process, which needs to be much more participatory than it has been in the past as well. your job here is to drive the politicians to make sure they stay on that Vision 2050.
So for me, when I got into this and I said really I wanted people to learn and do vote. Now the next point after that, I wanted you to get used to voting. I wanted to see each ward come up with its own participatory budget, but dealing with the problems that our city faces. And I do believe that if you keep people engaged, you have the level of civic engagement that each one of you feels like you are a special part to this city, this is the short-term goals that we can actually accomplish daily. As far as the longer-term vision, once again, it is about setting standards of what we want to see in our city. These are the things we live and abide by. Basically, folks, get engaged and stay that way.
Our next question, I think, is the ultimate Hive question, which is, how will you create a Hamilton where youth can prosper both professionally and personally? Very good question. Michael Baldessaro?
I'd start as soon as they were 7 years old. I'd put them in the Army. I'd take them away from their parents for at least a month out every summer so they learn how to get along with people. It'll save us a lot of money in the court system, too. I would stop promoting alcohol as some rite of passage to adulthood. And I would offer them free education and free transit. And the education only goes as far as their marks does, of course. And I tax the hell out of them later when they're professionals and they have the money. But not ridiculously. They have children to raise too. And I've been in Barton Street Jail, and I know I've been in jail with people that look just like you. I was more surprised than I was that they ended up there. 90% of them was alcohol. 90% of young offenders are in there because of alcohol fetal syndrome. Thank you.
Jazz Butt?
I will work with the student leaders from local youth groups and academic institutions such as McMaster University and Mohawk College to ensure that the voices of the youths are heard and represented within our great city. And I would also like to create the bursary fund because the tuition fees are going high. So I will have some kind of a bursary fund for the student and 50% discounts for their HSR rights. So mostly working with these people, I think, thank you.
Hey, Brad Clark.
Thank you. I have a fan in the front row. Ladies and gentlemen, what we really need to do is to engage the young people. We need to engage them right from the get-go at City Hall, make sure that they're involved not only in our policy decisions, but actually involved in how we set the vision, how we move forward as a community. We also need to attract high-paying jobs to the community. That means we need to concentrate on economic clusters across this community. Many of the resource and development that's occurring is coming from young people who really have brilliant minds, and we need to assist them in the commercialization of those ideas. They end up with the intellectual property right, but they don't really know how to go from there and how to commercialize it. So the city can and should be playing a role in that regard, and the mayor should be leading that to make sure that that actually does happen. The commercialization actually creates revenue for the community, the entire economy, and creates jobs for the economy. So it actually comes full circle. Engaging them in the beginning brings us around to the commercialization, and it brings us around to improving our economy and attracting jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Every once in a while, I like to say everybody's name just for people walking by. So Fred Eisenberger.
Thank you, Samantha. You know what? It's really about the next Hamilton. So ensuring that we have the Hive and the young professionals all engaged in our community and participating in setting out a vision, I think is really the key part in terms of how you move forward collectively on a view of what the next Hamilton should look like. So how to do that? Well, let's have that Vision 2020 exercise, Vision 2030 or 40 exercise, and really start building a prosperity for everybody in our community, not just a few. And it seems that these days the prosperity seems to land at the top, but not necessarily at the bottom. So we want to make sure that we're factoring in a city that looks after you from 8 to 80. That's a sustainable city. If we're sustainable, we're looking looking after everybody and everyone has prosperity. So we need to continue to push hard on our economic development growth. We need to have that business enterprise center at City Hall, and we need to make sure that we're an open for business city as well, where the red tape is
Thank you, Fred.
predictable and that we can focus on reducing it as much as possible.
Warren DeFrancis.
Thanks again, folks. First of all, the youth are our future. I love the youth in this city, and they know I do. Those who know me well. I love the youth in this city. We have to grow the city. We have to have something we can be proud in, and the youth can have pride in. We have kids killing kids. We have police killing kids. Things are breaking down. We need pride back in this city. We need to get the kids back enlisted in the Canadian Legions. We need to be more patriotic to the history of this great country and come alive again. We need to come alive and do the things that we did at first and encourage our kids to be proud again of this city. We got to get kids off welfare. We got to get kids off the street. We got to get them out of the homeless shelters. The only way to do it is to build a system that can employ thousands of people for years to come. And this is why I keep insisting on my dual elevated monorail that will not touch the roads. It will preserve the heritage. It's just posts in the road with a span across, and we hang a track and the electrical lines run across, and we can build this system for decades.
Thank you,
That's how we
Warren.
take care of our youth.
Thank you. Crystal Levine.
Thank you. First off, we create jobs of the future in Hamilton. Flexible employment at full and part-time hours and rates is what the younger generation is asking for. And if we want to grow as a city, we need to keep and attract this generation of worker. Pander to the businesses that can accommodate this to attract them into our city. To the employers in our city currently that can adopt this model, we need to give them the incentive to do this now as well. Many cities throughout the developed world are being quick to adopt this model as they realize the benefits not only for our youth, but for people of all ages. As youth, we are continually being told that we are lazy workers or that we feel entitled. I beg to differ to both of these labels, and given the time and opportunity, would love to expand on them further. However, I will quickly say this. As children, we watched our parents each work full-time jobs to support their families, seeming to never be at home. This did not make them happy, neither did it make us children happy. Now we're the up-and-coming adults, and we realize this is not the way life has to be. We're adaptable, we're flexible, and we have the technology to go beyond what any previous generation has done before us. Let us embrace it and use it, and our parents' generation will truly
Crystal.
be in awe of our success. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian McCaddy.
Earlier, I released a three-part plan for youth employment. First off is establishing a mayor's task force, which will look at the full range of youth, different circumstances youth find themselves in. It will work, amongst other things, about access to post-secondary and early outreach programs to make sure youth are headed in that direction to be able to access post-secondary. Secondly, establishing a work-integrated learning program, working with regional employers, financial incentives, to get that experience necessary to find work. And lastly, establishing a youth entrepreneurship strategy, which will look for opportunities there. As you know, 80% of all new jobs come from small business. Many of you here today have established your own businesses already. So the future success of Hamilton's youth is integrating those three platforms from the mayor's office. Thank you.
Michael Pattison.
More than anything, it's about giving them the chance. We have so many valuable youth. When we look at McMaster, Mohawk, Redeemer, Columbia, we have a youth that we need engaged. What HiveX does with the networking abilities, this is how people gain strength. This is how literally you get mixing of minds. You know, how do you say it again? It's more hands, light work, something like that. What is it? Many hands. Thank you. Anyway, folks, this is where we need to envision. We need to be the networking side that we are. Hamilton City Hall has to be almost red tape free. We need to be the city that literally engages our youth, engages literally new technologies, and these are the things that we have to do right away for us to actually move forward.
I'm going to do something crazy. I'm going to start rotating the order a little ahead of time. I'm going to start with EJAZ. For the next one, which is another really good HiveX question, I think, which is, EJAZ, what can the city do to enable small business growth?
I think make the sensible decisions. I think one non-sensible decision, making the bus lane on the downtown area, which killed the small businesses from King and Wellington to all the way to King and Queen. My plans call for the job growth by giving property tax exemption for 2 years, which can be extended to 4 years to new manufacturing businesses that create at least 20 jobs or more in Hamilton. This will attract new businesses and help with job growth. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Clark, what will the city do? What can the city do to enable small business growth?
We have a business enterprise office at the city, and I've spoken to many of the clients that have gone through that the office is supposed to help them start up their business. And they said that the education is excellent. They provide them exactly what they need, but when they start to get the permits and they start to deal with the fees and they start to deal with all of those things, the burden gets much bigger and longer. So the time frames for trying to get a business open is staggering. I talked to a young lady just 2 weeks ago who opened a second cup. It took her 2 years just to open a second cup because of the building permit process and the challenges in the building department. That's unacceptable. When other communities are opening businesses in 6 months from start to open, that's what we need to go towards, that is what we need to drive towards, and we can do it within our own system. We just have to have that discretion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would kind of take a similar track, but add that we need to be kind of willing to look at new technologies and be open to how we can actually encourage and develop those new technologies. Part of that is having research happening in our community, and a lot of it is happening at the moment where we've got an awful lot of pharmaceutical research happening in the hospital sector. We've got automotive research happening. We have CanMet that's doing metallurgical research, and that also spells opportunities for all people in our community. So making sure that we have a predictable process in terms of business setup is really the biggest issue that we face. But beyond that, engendering the entrepreneurial spirit and being open to that and open to all new technologies, I think is really the key to making sure that our city is a welcoming environment. One of the big issues we have is that we have a lot of immigrants coming into our city, and they are particularly challenged in terms of knowing where to go, how to set up a business, and how to land their opportunity here. And we want to make sure that we're catering to that demographic as well in a very, very big way.
Thank you.
We can't have jobs without something big. There's no point at opening a sandwich shop that only employs one person and call that a job. We can't have these small garbage dead-end jobs through temp agencies paying people $11 an hour and call that a job. We have to have a big grand plan where companies employ dozens of people, hundreds of people for one big plan. That's why I keep pushing this dual Mayoral system that we need. It'll bring and attract business from all over the world. They're going to want a part of it. We can employ thousands of people for years. We have a blank piece of paper in Hamilton. We're lucky they haven't screwed it up as bad as they could have screwed it up, so we're just in time. I feel that I've come here just in time to pull the fat out of the fire. We've got to get real jobs. The only way we get real jobs is a big master plan that hires hundreds of thousands of people. All machine shops hire dozens of people.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
We want real jobs, not bullshit jobs.
Go ahead, Crystal.
Am I good? Okay, thank you. Well, first off, the city can stop making it so difficult for businesses to grow. You hear all the time that it takes months for new businesses to get permits or licenses, whatever it is that they may need to be able to grow. I say cut to the chase on it. Design a task force that can help new business obtain their needs far faster than what they can now. A task force that can cut through all the red tape, offer guidance, advice, and have the complete knowledge of the legalities surrounding each to stave off not only confusion, but also the weeks or sometimes months of waiting. As a city, we should be empowering small business owners to grow. We should not be trying to hinder their growth simply because we cannot get our act together at City Hall to foster this kind of an environment. This is an area that needs to be taken seriously at City Hall if we want to encourage and keep small business growth here and not chase it away. Thank you.
McCaddy, what can the city do to enable small business growth?
Well, two ideas, and I've released these with my policy platform as well. One of the things to think about with the city is a lot of things we don't control as a city. One thing we control 100% is the planning process, the whole approval process, the building permits. So I released an open for business contract policy where we would very clearly spell out as someone comes in with a small business or a zoning change, what the expectations are right up front, what the requirements are up front, and what are the clear timelines for approval. So that needs to happen. Also, for the way we're going to grow as a city through immigration and establishing the Global Hamilton office, which is an opportunity I had to be part of over the last couple of years, is tremendously important to provide folks with the direction they need when they first come into the city. The Global Hamilton office is already paying dividends. Thanks.
Yes, the question, what can the city do to enable small business growth?
Okay. Once again, I've said it. I'm going to take 2 seconds here. Cut the red tape at City Hall. I am an entrepreneur. I've opened business in the city. It's not easy. We have to fix this. And I'm telling you, you need someone who has an entrepreneurial spirit. Thanks.
And we're heading down. We have sort of a mic deficit here, so we just have to run back down. Go ahead, Michael Baldessaro.
All right. They didn't do it when. They're still going to do it. I've been running since 1989. They're always going to do it. Just vote me in this time and I'll do it. You'll be happy. That's why I just keep on running, because what else? There's nobody to vote for. The 2020 plan had no vision when it was created. I sat through all of this. This was City Hall. This could have been businesses here. We don't have it. I'll just keep on running till you people decide that maybe, if we want to change, we need more than a suit change. Thank you.
Thank you. Ijaz, didn't we start with you, or? Yeah. Okay, we're going to start the next question with Brad Clark. I think we're going to rotate through. And I'm going to skip, I want to make sure that we get some really important questions in here. So, Brad, I'm going to ask you, youth have low voter turnout. Why should youth in Hamilton vote for you?
In my platform, I put in place exactly how we would engage the youth. And there's a number of programs that we could do, and I'm espousing that. The one is an internship program. It's imperative that we develop an internship program so that the youth actually feel involved and learn exactly what's going on in our community, what's going on at City Hall. That internship program can not only be at City Hall and in the mayor's office, it can also be in business offices. So we can assist the businesses to set up those programs and ensure that they actually are paid programs. They're not voluntary internships as in the past. We also want to have a youth conference, much like your HiveX conference, but to engage the youth and make them feel as though they're a part of the community and actually engaging and telling us what they're feeling and what's happening in all of the communities. We need to bring the youth together in one huge youth conference on an annual basis, and that's also a part of my platform. Thank you.
So, it's really about what have you done in the past, and to encourage this kind of thing. And, as mayor, I had a Mayor for the Day program, which was really a program for grade school kids to come and spend the day and get an understanding of what politics is about or what governance is about. What we should do is we should have online voting and mail-in voting and phone-in voting. I think it's high time that we got there so that people that are using technology today can actually access that and vote the way they want to, and it'd be more accessible to people in terms of voting capabilities. And I really think we ought to require and ask the schools that every time there's an election, they have a process where the entire school engages for a couple of days and has their own vote. So a young chap in Ancaster called me and said, I'm having a debate in my school in Ancaster, and I'm going to be you for that day, and I'm going to present your platform. I think that's the kind of thing that really engages kids and encourages them to actually participate in the process and teaches them that voting actually matters. And I think we ought to encourage that in all of our schools every time there's an election.
Okay. Youth in Hamilton have low voter turnout. Why should they vote for you?
The reason the youth have a low turnout is because they're sick and tired of their broken promises the leaders give them and never fulfill them. Turn the stadium 90 degrees, building a lunatic asylum on the hill. That's not the Hamilton that we need. We need proper jobs. We need people who can deliver. I can deliver. I fought for the youth in this city. The police have killed a young boy in this city, shot him through the stomach and handcuffed him, and he bled to death on Barton Street over a noise complaint. I got that boy. I'm protecting that family. I will fight for that family. I'll fight for every child and their family in this city. They need someone who loves them, someone who cares about them, someone who will lay down their life for them. I deliver. I'm a strong man. I took on the police and I'm winning. I'm keeping and defending your freedoms and your children's freedoms. That's why the kids are going to vote for me, because they're going to vote for someone they can trust, and they know they can trust me, and they know I love them. And that's the truth, and that's why they'll vote for me.
Yeah. Thank you.
The youth have low voter turnout rate because the youth don't see change. Every 4 years, we see the same people continually get into office, sometimes switching their chairs to the mayor's chair, and we see how the stagnancy offers no change. We have no choice really in who we vote for to change that, because unless if we actively look it up, which few people do, we are stuck with the choices made by mainstream media like CHCH News, The Spectator, and CBC Hamilton. Mainstream media will not offer or provide the other choices for only the youth, but everyone else, because they are not receiving any type of kickback from the new runners. This is a large turnoff for many voters, but particularly the youth, because we know being offered only the choices given through the mainstream media means everything stays the same, because dare I say it, the old boys club will prevail. Vote for me if you really want change. Vote for me if you believe Hamilton can be better, because trust me, under the leadership of me, Hamilton will be better. I'm not stuck in the past, and neither do I have any excess baggage from council, as the media declared frontrunners do.
So I think it's really a lack of inspiration. I think when people look at who's running, they try and see ideas or platforms that are put forward. They can actually see in themselves. They can see a future that they're looking for, and that just hasn't been the case to any great extent. I had the opportunity to listen to the last little part of the conference at the Sheraton, and there was talk about transportation as an example. And really a request for more transit, more walkability, more bike lanes. And until the last couple of years, that hasn't been where City Council's been. My 25-year-old son still doesn't have his driver's license, just doesn't have an interest in having a driver's license given the cost of a car. So that's the reality we're looking at. Issue like climate change is not taken seriously in this city. You know, by 2050, if we get some of the huge changes that are coming, we're in trouble. So I think that's the kind of inspiration you're looking for.
For me, it always comes down to nobody sees anything happen. When the youth connect, one of the things that I'm most proud of during this whole campaign, the amount of literally first-time voters that have gotten a hold of me through email or phone. They like it because they see that I'm trying to add passion to something. They see that I actually do care. And literally, this is not a falsification. This is, I was born and raised here. I want to see this city thrive. I know what the people of this city are and what they stand for. So yes, when it comes down to the youth, we need to show them the positive change. We need to be the positive change. And from that, yes, get them engaged, because if we do this right, you're engaged for life.
And while we're getting the mic down to Michael, I'll repeat, youth have voter turnout in Hamilton. Why should they vote for you?
Well, the young professionals and leaders here. So I assume that 40 to 19 is young. And everything under 19 doesn't get a vote because they don't exist. But even on my deathbed, I get a vote, or I get to vote by proxy. You want to change the education system in this country, and you have 5 children, you have 5 votes between you and your husband. They can vote by proxy. Are you not responsible under the criminal code to provide them life? Are you not responsible to care that these guys are closing down yet another school with not even asking you? You're lousy 1 vote when you should have at least in a family of 5, 7, as it were, if you're including the father, eh? As far as I'm concerned, it's what mom wants that's what my dad taught me. Just make mom happy and you'll be fine. Vote for those children. Stand up and fight. That's a constitutional Section 3 right under the Charter. Non-discrimination by reason of age. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joseph.
Well, even in my platform, it's in section 19. I said it, ensuring Aboriginal diverse communities and our youth to be proactive in the local political system. But anyway, I go toward the question. There is no doubt voting is one of the best ways, and people's voices can be heard in democracy. But let's not just focus on low youth voters turnout. Our youth play key roles in many important ways. If you look at what is happening in Hong Kong, it is the student and the student leaders who are protesting and playing a key role in ensuring that there are free and fair and open elections, which are not influenced by Chinese interference. So there are many important ways that our youth to play an important role, and getting them involved in the political process early on is key. They should vote for me as my platform addresses key of the economical, social, and environmental growth, which will meet the need of the citizen.
Thank you. Our next question, we're going to start with Fred Eisenberger. What is Hamilton's transit future? What are your transit priorities?
My transit priority is to work really hard to see if we can engage the broader community to ensure that we find a way of getting LRT. I think that's a really important issue, but I can tell you that right now it's an issue that's confused in the broader community, and we need the community on side, pardon the pun, before the train leaves the station. So I'm suggesting that we go back into our community, look at all the reports that are out there. I'm not asking for new reports. Bring people in from all parts of our community, let them look at those reports, let them have meetings in all parts of our communities, similar to what we did with the area rating process, and then have them make a recommendation to council. I'm convinced when they see the whole picture, they understand the whole picture, they understand the return on investment and the economic uplift that comes with this and the benefit to the entire community, that they'll pick LRT. But we need to engage our community. This is not going to go forward until the community's on board.
I'm very grateful for this question. Please, folks, don't take this as an insult, but no, there's not one of these people here have the engineering or knowledge that I do in transit system. I've been a ride designer for Universal Studios and Disney for 5 years and a design checker. I'll be able to scrutinize the projects. McMaster University going to design it, not these big highfalutin consultants, and everything's going to be built here. It'll be a dual monorail hung over the streets on Barton Street and Main Street. We will not disturb the culture. We just drill holes in the ground, suspend the track, and then the vehicle goes underneath it, and it's fed from power lines. This will be the most disruptive, it will be the least disruptive method there is. We cannot have an LRT that exists on the ground because there's too many cars. If we put a track on the ground, it's going to restrict traffic, especially heavy road traffic, big vehicles, trucks and stuff. We got to get the system up in the air. We need a 21st century system, like a thrill ride, so the people of Hamilton can be proud of it. That's how we'll do it. With your help. Don't clap then.
Hey, they're a tough crowd, eh?
Yeah.
Yes. I've said no to the LRT from day one. The debate is over. Let's increase our bus service, get it working in all corners of our city, and immediately alleviate our most urgent public transportation woes. Install gondolas for fast, efficient north-south transportation in the Central East area. This will also prove to be a powerful way to exploit our beautifully landscaped city, which will only double over as a tourist attraction. The money for this would come out of the provincial money proposed for Hamilton Transit. To add to my idea of the gondolas, this is a way of future transportation in Hamilton. Not only do they require very little space to install, many cities worldwide are utilizing these efficient modes of transportation to help alleviate congestion and for a fast, safe, more environmentally sound mode of transportation. Not only would they suit Hamilton well, we would be the very first city, to the best of my knowledge, in all of Ontario to utilize this fast becoming popular type of transportation. We must also look at exploring the possibility of expanding the lanes of the Red Hill Valley Parkway and Lincoln M. Alexander Parkway. Thank you.
Okay, just to repeat the question, what is Hamilton's transit future? What are your transit priorities?
Thanks, Samantha. So back in May, I released a four-part transit plan. There's a video on the website, macadie2014.ca. And the first point is to increase neighborhood bus service. The second one is to enhance the A-Line Express up the mountain. And the third one is to implement, emphasis on implement, the LRT B line. And the last one is to provide online, real-time mobile data for HSR. And that last one's on its way. I had a chance to work with Joey Coleman and the application folks in town, and that's on its way. So it's a four-part plan, and the key for us is to mesh that plan, and the real opportunity we have before us in the very, very short term, the $15 billion the province of Ontario has set aside. If we don't move ahead with the LRT at this point in time, the money goes off to Brampton, goes off to Mississauga, and we've lost that opportunity. So the time to act is now. And the gondola idea is a very good idea. Check that out. Excellent idea.
You cheated, Brian. You grabbed the mic back.
Hey, I need to do the same thing. We spend right now, I believe it's 20 to 30% of our overall fuel budget of the HSR getting people up the mountain, okay? When we talk about the future of our transportation, yes, okay, the province is saying that they want to put in, if it's paid for, we have to do it. A couple of things I need to put forth, though. We've talked about LRT, we talked about BRT, we've talked about Express Bus. Okay, first and foremost, we need to look at what are the overall operating budgets of these. What is the environmental impact of all of these? I am completely game. We need a new transportation system, but I want to see the plan citywide. I want to see how it actually utilizes everything that we have now. I want to see how we can budget things proportionately so we actually can service everyone in this city. We're a growing city, and this is going to help us get to the next level, but let's put every issue on the table, let's put every answer on the table, and let's do the Made in Hamilton solution.
To repeat the question, what is Hamilton's transit future? What are your transit priorities?
Well, the future's definitely light rail. Fossil-driven vehicles are the dinosaurs of tomorrow. I propose we beef up the BRT for now, and Council, as usual, has got it wrong. Going east and west, like Fred said, we want to engage the whole community. We're talking a huge city here, a greater Hamilton area. What we need is a north-south corridor. I would build an LRT from the GO station to the GO station, because these commuters who are tomorrow's tax base, they're coming to commute to Toronto, we've got the corridor condo. We're in it now. What are you going to do, wait for the bus to go down to the lake? That should also be free for citizens who vote, for people who have a voting card. Tap it on the thing, your picture comes up, and welcome aboard. We have the resources, we just don't have the will to do anything but get elected and sit in our butts for another 4 years. Thank you. Well, not me anyway.
Well, our community is completely divided on LRT. And what I think is when the community is divided, then and the councillors, those who has been contemplating for 8 years, spending more than $20 million on LRT issues, and at the end we don't know whether the province is going to give us that kind of money or not. So I think we should go for the referendum, that what the public wants it, whether they want the LRT or not. Because this is the decision made by the people, made by the council, and the public has a different point of view. As far as the LRT is concerned, I am fully for it unless it is fully funded by the province. Thank you.
Thank you. What I can tell you is that the public right across the city believe today we're not ready for LRT. They believe that we cannot afford LT and that we don't need LRT. They are telling us right across the city, and I'm talking downtown, up on the mountain, and every ward, they're telling us that they need enhanced bus transit, they need expanded bus transit, and they need harmonized routes. They need routes that connect to GO Transit. They need routes that connect to each other, that speed up their transit system and their ride, and they need additional bus rapid transit systems around the entire city. This going forward right now on LRT when we cannot afford it and leaving the outlying communities and the rest of the city without that service is a mistake. And we simply cannot afford it. If the LRT is not successful, then we'll end up with just a white elephant and we don't have the ridership, and that's where it would go.
Thank you. I just want to remind anyone watching up there, you can come down and have a seat too, more comfortable. So the next question is going to start with Warren Francis. And this one actually came from the floor. Describe your first 100 days as mayor.
My first 100 days as mayor, I would go for the three target deficient areas, that being economic development, the cultural and recreation, and the operations at Wentworth. Those three departments would be scrutinized extremely hard. And the waste that they've generated and the letdowns that they've committed to the city, the people who have failed will be removed, and we'll have a brand new leadership in those areas. It would be my wish also to shut down City Hall apart from essential services for 1 week without salary. I will go without 2 weeks of salary. To see how much money we can save for all the mistakes at City Hall. I've calculated I can save $75 million in 1 week, which will be immediately transplanted into low-income housing. Thank you very much.
Krista Levine, first 100 days.
My first 100 days in office as mayor. First of all, I'd have to spend some time getting to know council a little bit because I think that there'd be a little bit of a negative feedback from council taking on brand new leadership, somebody who's never been in there before. So I think I'd have my work cut out for me that way. Secondly, I would like to first and foremost address the poverty issues in Hamilton because it's such a large issue and we have so many people, including children that are going without, that we really need to take care of first, and that's definitely a priority of mine. That's where I'd like to establish the grocery card service and abolish the food banks, or begin to abolish them, so we can start giving the people that need it some dignity, that need to use these food banks and can go shopping on their own. Thank you.
Brian McCaddy.
First 100 days is critical to the success of a new mayor. We've got a system that the mayor only has one vote, as you know, and we've got 15 councillors. So the first thing I would do was to go into each of the councillors' offices and say, look, you've just been elected. You're the Ward 7 councillor, for example. What are your top 3 priorities in Ward 7? How can I, as the mayor, help you deliver on those top 3 priorities in your area? And by the way, I've got 5 to 7 priorities that I need to deliver on right across the city. Which one of those, or which other key issues across the city, brownfields, waterfront, affordable housing, whatever it might be, can you take on as a task as a councillor, so you can become the Minister of Brownfields, to use that analogy, and to go to Queen's Park and to help me get what Hamilton needs to move that ahead. Transportation is going to be one of those key ones we need to talk about right off the top. Visiting with the Minister of Transportation. We're into the budget process as well.
Brian.
That'll be the key in the first 100 days.
Thank you. Michael Pattison.
Not to turn this over to a sports analogy, but the first 100 days is 100 days of hardcore practice. We need to form a team at City Hall, and I'm not saying that everything is going to be unified, but literally the 15 councillors have to represent every person in this city. We need to focus on what we're going to do to actually showcase Hamilton, because I literally believe, once again, you hit every ward, you do it properly, where the people of every ward are represented, and they feel represented, and we showcase that they are to be represented. So the first 100 days is literally a lot of hard overtime work of nothing more than trying to build the team that can unify everyone in the city with directions, with goals, with absolute dedication to what we're all trying to do here today.
Thank you. Michael Baldessaro, describe your first 100 days as mayor.
Well, on day one, I'm going to offer my runner-up the chair, the Oversight Committee. And then on day two, I'm going to talk and ask all the councillors to take as much as 15% off their reduced salaries and put that towards their guy. So we actually do have some communication out there with some bus fare and some lunch money in their pocket instead of going around like bums and expecting everybody to support these committees when City Hall should be supporting them. And then I'm going to go into the province and say, you promised us money for the transit. I want to beef up the BRT, and I want to create that north-south route. Having no BRT to connect our future LRT to connect the condominium dwellers from Toronto is just like having a steel company without a blast furnace. So the whole region should be concerned. They're building these buildings along James Street and Bay for a reason. And that is our tomorrow's steel, is people.
Thank you. Ijaz Butt, first 100 days.
First 100 days, the first thing I'm going to remove this bus lane from the downtown area. Other than, I will go for the accountability and the transparency, having regular external financial audits and releasing quarterly financial reports, releasing data on expenses claimed filed by top-level city employees, including the mayor, making public the salaries, benefits, and the hour worked, including attendance of key city employees, cutting down our spending, balancing the budget, and improving the city credit rating. Presently, our 44% of the total operating cost is being used for the salaries, and 14% is only used for the developments. So I would like to increase the development price up to at least 20% and cut down that 44% to 35%. Thank you.
Thank you. Brad Clark.
Thank you very much. In the first 100 days, there'd be far more than we could say in a minute, but I can talk about the communications that need to happen right away. The mayor needs to talk to the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Transportation, the Minister of Municipal Affairs right away so that they open those doors and make sure that we actually have those communications so that they can call the mayor and the mayor can call those ministers. We need to have those consultations with the councillors, with the school trustees, with the local MPPs, and with the MPs, make sure that they're all a part of Team Hamilton as we move forward. Hamilton is the priority, not partisan politics, not parochial politics, but Hamilton in general. We need to meet with business leaders and union leaders to make sure that they understand that the mayor's here, the mayor's office is open for them, and it's all about attracting jobs, high-quality jobs, to our community. That would be the communications end of it as we go forward. And I could spend another hour for the rest of the 100 days, but my time's now up. Thank you.
Thank you. Fred Eisenberger, first 100 days as mayor.
Thank you. So I would really begin by setting that strategic direction on council. We're going to have 4 new members of council, one way or the other, and maybe more, who knows. And we need to do that in a very public way. I'm not really interested in doing it in the back room. I want to do it in a very public way on the council floor and have a chat about what our current strategic direction is. I would then start the citizen engagement process on a vision, community vision for our community. Get that in place and get that happening quickly so that we can build a time period in, because it's going to take a year or two to come to that conclusion. And thirdly, I would start the citizen forum process for transit. I think we need to do that quickly. I think we'd give it about 6 months in terms of building that broader education and then provide an opportunity for council to make a forward-thinking decision, which I'm pretty confident will be LRT. And lastly, put a motion forward to build in that gender equity and inclusion lens in all of our decision making. That is really critically important to ensure that we're treating all of our communities in a fair and equitable way.
Thank you. Our next question, this is also from the floor. We're going to start with Crystal Levine. And boy, this is an important one to so many people. As Hamilton continues to grow, what will you do to ensure that housing remains affordable?
Good question. This one seems to be a very popular topic for sure. First of all, we've got to stop becoming the bedroom community that we are. The bedroom community that we are is helping to drive up our prices of our houses that we cannot afford, at least not the average Hamiltonian can afford, let alone those that are living in low income and in poverty. With that being said, that means the first step to help drive our prices down is to actually create jobs that people can live and work in Hamilton for, so we're not known as a bedroom community anymore, and so we're not having people come here that can afford it from out of city, but we can no longer afford to live in our own city. Another thing that we need to do is make sure that we ramp up our affordable housing for those who are in poverty and who are in low income, because everybody in the city deserves to have a roof over your head regardless of your situation, where you live in the city, what ward you reside in, or what troubles you may have in your life. Thank you.
Just repeat the question. As Hamilton continues to grow, what will you do to ensure that housing remains affordable?
Well, we're talking about the gentrification process, which is underway down on James Street North. It's still, I think, somewhere in the future when it becomes a significant issue for Hamilton. But it really does lead back to more affordable housing, which is a gentrification issue, but it's also an issue currently with the 5,000 people we have on the wait list for Hamilton. Other cities have similar problems. So we need to come together as a number of municipalities in Ontario and municipalities right across Canada to make sure the province and the federal government change the format they have. In particular, the federal government needs to come up with a national housing strategy. We're the only country in the G8 without that kind of national leadership, which is just really shocking. And that's something that we need to focus on. I need to stand with Mr. Nenshi, Mr. Iveson, Mr. Robertson, all of the other great mayors right across this country to make sure the changes occur.
We'll give you the question again. As Hamilton continues to grow, what will you do to ensure that housing remains affordable?
Okay, I actually draw back to my early days in Hamilton, my birth. So I was raised on the East Mountain, and literally, I don't know if it was a social experiment at the time, it was a completely mixed income neighborhood. So what we had was, folks, so my father, who was a white man who worked at Stelco, was basically put into a draw, of which he was selected. And what it was, so you have to look at my neighborhood. The houses were supposed to cost $34,000. Well, because it was literally another immigrant wave, which was fantastic, my parents got $7,000 off of buying the home. All of my neighbors were literally integrated from around the world. Hamilton Housing was the exact same house that I was raised in. There was nobody that was separated. Everything about the neighborhood.
Opportunities and growth opportunities for our entire city. We have poverty issues that we cannot ignore and we have to look at and be sure that we focus on. We have gender equity issues that we have tended to ignore and that we need to start focusing on as well to make sure that we have a balanced approach. We have a diversity issues that we need to do better at in terms of welcoming the next generation of growth in the city of Hamilton, which is largely going to come from immigration. And that requires experienced, trusted leadership that can actually pull all of that together and move our city forward. So I ask you on October the 27th to vote for me. I have the experience that you can count on. I have the leadership you can trust. And I really believe that Hamilton is on the cusp of great things. Thank you all very much.
Brad Clark.
Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for attending today. This was a truly engaged audience and very helpful at this end. As Hamilton's new mayor, I'll work with council to ensure your tax dollars are spent wisely, to create more high-paying jobs, to better our services, to secure a new deal with senior levels of government, to implement smart transit, and to broaden our focus. Hamilton City Hall needs to be more accessible, more accountable, and more financially responsible to you, the taxpayer. And if we do that, we can build a prosperous future for everybody. I've served as a city councillor. I've served as transportation and labor minister. I know what it takes to get a job done for our community. We are on the doorstep of great things, and everyone in here would agree to that. With strong leadership, we will achieve that prosperity that all of us deserve in Hamilton, and we can take pride in our community once again. On October 27th, ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to vote for me. Thank you very much.
Ijaz Butt.
I appreciate the time you have given me today to share my thoughts. I am happy to speak to anyone at any time to answer your questions. There are many great candidates here today, but I believe my plan is the best one which can put the city back on track. And also, it can create the jobs and it will bring the taxes low and balance the budget for our city. On 27th October, I hope I, Ijaz Butt, can count on your vote and support to become Mayor of Hamilton. Thank you.
And lastly, Brother Michael Baldessaro.
Yes, first I'd like to thank the Hive for all they've done here, and for everybody who's in attendance and everybody that's watching joeycoleman.ca or participating in CBC's coverage. Thank you very much. I only got to day 2 on my 100 days. Well, on day 3, I'm going to talk to my oversight committee, and I'm going to ask them to set up a town hall meeting in every ward, one every year in every ward, like with a big forum. We have a coliseum over here we can use, and then we'll have one big one every year for all the wards and everybody. That's definitely at the Coliseum. I wouldn't mind using Hamilton Place. It's very comfortable. I can't think of much more to say. It's all been said. Thank you, everybody. God bless us.
Thank you. So I'm Samantha Craigs, and I'm with CBC Hamilton. That's cbc.ca/Hamilton. And listen, running for election is grueling and expensive, and you really stick your neck out. And I think Michael Baldessaro said something true, which is that everyone up here is really playing a key role in democracy, and I think they all deserve a round of applause.